Well, hey there. We have sure missed seeing you on the Baylor campus and in the BSB. As Dr. Barron said in her first video chat a couple of days ago, it is really quiet. None of us are in the office very much, but when I was in the BSB a few days ago, I realized just how quiet it is without the animating presence of all of you guys there. And we miss you. There's a lot of fear, a lot of anxiety that's just free floating in our culture right now. And one of the things I have found over my career and my life is that anxiety in my life tends to be managed best when I bring to bear two particular issues on it. One is the actual facts, and the other is my faith. So, what are the facts about what we're dealing with in this pandemic right now? Well, the facts are a lot of people are dying and a whole lot more are sick. Now, while it seems that the news the last couple of days is better than it has been, it's still very likely that a lot more people are going to die than have already. Yesterday about 1,900 died across the United States. And that brings the total number to just under 17,000 in the US, plus the tens of thousands around the world. But let me put those numbers in perspective. So, that 1,900 who died yesterday, well, it might interest you to know that also here in the United States yesterday, almost 7,800 other people died, not related to COVID 19 at all. About 1,900 of those actually died from heart disease. Statistically, somewhere on the order of almost 1,400 died of cancer. And another 150 or 200 died in car crashes and other and assorted sundry accidents. So while COVID 19 is bad, it isn't even the big killer in the United States right now. And it isn't going to be either if current projections are correct. In fact, if 240,000 people in the U.S. die this year, as what is the absolute worst case scenario being projected by models right now, well, that 240,000 would raise the total deaths in the United States this year by about 8%. Now, that's not insignificant. It's certainly not unimportant. And for that 240,000 families, it is a monumental event. But it is important that we put these facts in context and look at the data in the context that it is. Folks in the media are fond of talking about right now how this is unprecedented. We've never seen this before. Well, yeah, we have. All you have to do is read a little bit of history, and you don't even have to read very far back in history to realize there's not much unprecedented about this at all. Oh, yeah, the coronavirus is novel, it's new. But dealing with major crises, that's not very new at all. In fact, they're saying 240,000 is the worst case scenario right now. 70 years ago, 405,000 American young men, mostly, died in World War II. And that 405,000, that was just a small part of the probably close to 50 million who died around the world, both in combat and from disease. The Spanish flu, 1918, 1919, we're not even sure how many Americans it killed, but it was somewhere between 500,000 and 750,000, probably over 600,000, or very close to three times the number that the worst case models are projecting for COVID 19. Now, again, this is not a small issue, it's not minor. But it is important we put the data in context. And dealing with the facts often helps to get us away from the anxiety of all of the stories that we're hearing. There's another thing that I find really helpful. You see, I'm a person of faith. Some of you know that long before I was a clinician, I was a pastor. And so I've brokered sort of in the helping folks deal with the facts of anxiety and the faith that provides support in anxiety for an awful long time, 35 years or so altogether. And I've been figuring this out a little at a time over my life. One of my favorite stories of faith comes from the Hebrew Bible, the what Christians call the Old Testament. The great King Jehoshaphat was leading God's people. The story's told in 2 Chronicles chapter 20. Jehoshaphat, isn't that a great name? Jehoshaphat was standing there looking at the fact that there were three, not one, not two, but three different armies bearing down on God's people, all trying to attack at once. Jehoshaphat called the people to fast, to pray, and to worship. And he ended his own prayer by saying something kind of like this in 2 Chronicles 20. Lord, we are powerless in front of all of these armies, and we do not know what to do, but our eyes are on you. And that statement of faith, that statement of worship has really been helpful for me. I have found myself again and again listening to worship music and reading, especially in the Psalms and other places where God has come through for people down through the centuries. Unprecedented? Nah. And in fact, the COVID-19 coronavirus pandemic didn't come as a surprise to God. He's not alarmed by it. He knew it was coming long before any of us did. So our response, I think, is to be faithful and to worship and to look for ways to be supportive and generous to the people around us, being kind, giving, tipping big, doing all those kinds of very simple things that can really make the world a better and brighter place. Because you see, at the end of the day, what we in Medical Humanities know, what we are discovering together is we're not just physical bodies. We are physical bodies that live out life in psychosocial, spiritual ways. We are whole people. And so let's care for ourselves and care for each other as whole people. See you later.